हेलो एंड वेलकम टू मेड फॉर मेड। इस वीडियो में हम बात करेंगे हेमोलाइटिक अनीमियाज़ के बारे में। लेकिन उससे पहले आपको अनीमिया का पैथोलॉजी जानना ज़रूरी है। सो प्लीज़ गो एंड वॉच माय प्रीवियस वीडियो ऑन अनीमियाज़ पैथोलॉजी। सो नाउ वी विल स्टार्ट विद हेमोलाइटिक अनीमिया। फर्स्ट विद द डेफिनेशन, these are the anemias that result due to increase in rate of red cell destruction, which is called hemolysis. So now the most common features of hemolytic anemias is the shortened RBC lifespan, which is less than 120 days. Here it is decreased. And also an increase in the hormone levels of erythropoietin. Because the RBCs have decreased, there is a compensatory increase in erythropoietin for the process of erythropoiesis. Also, there is an increase in hemoglobin degradation products. These are generated due to the hemolysis process of red cells. Now, what are the pathways of hemolysis of red cells? There are basically two pathways. First is extravascular hemolysis, which occurs outside the vasculature, that is outside the blood vessels, and intravascular hemolysis, which occurs inside the vasculature or inside the blood vessels. Coming to extravascular hemolysis, it occurs physiologically in the body also, for the removal of senescent RBCs or old red blood cells with the help of reticular endothelial system. But extravascular hemolysis leads to hemolytic anemia when there is excessive hemolysis of the red blood cells because of their abnormality as attachment of antibody to the RBC, or because of any complement fixation or any membrane abnormality. Also, they are more recognized by the macrophages due to these abnormalities, and there is increased hemolysis. Plus, the macrophages may also be excessively activated, leading to increased hemolysis. There are three main sites of extravascular hemolysis. They are spleen, liver, and bone marrow, but mainly extravascular hemolysis occurs in the spleen. So here you can see in the macrophage of the spleen, there are so many RBCs. These are being destroyed and release of hemoglobin is there, and hemoglobin is further degraded into heme and globin. The globin part forms the amino acids, whereas the heme forms biliverdin and iron. Iron goes to iron stores, and the biliverdin is converted to bilirubin, which goes to the blood as unconjugated bilirubin and reaches the liver, where it is converted to conjugated bilirubin and sent to the small intestine. In the small intestine, conjugated bilirubin is converted to urobilinogen. The 80% of this urobilinogen is converted to stercobilinogen in the feces and released as stercobilin. Now the rest 20% of urobilinogen is reabsorbed and sent to the kidney and excreted as urobilinogen in the urine, which converts into urobilin in the urine on standing. Now let's come to intravascular hemolysis. As the name suggests, it occurs inside the vasculature or inside the blood cells. So here the RBCs, due to various reasons, rupture inside the blood vessels, and there is release of the RBC contents into the blood. And among these contents are hemoglobin. So hemoglobin in the blood leads to hemoglobinemia, and then hemoglobin also reaches the kidney and is excreted in urine, leading to hemoglobinuria, and hemoglobin is converted to hemosiderin and also leading to hemosidenuria. Also, in both these cases, extravascular, intravascular, there is decreased serum haptoglobin, which is a protein which binds free hemoglobin. So here in the extravascular hemolysis, the hemoglobin, some hemoglobin is escaped and reaches the plasma and binds with haptoglobin, and thus haptoglobin is decreased in the plasma. In intravascular hemolysis, there is a lot of hemoglobin in the blood. So all the haptoglobin is saturated. Then the hemoglobin that is left free and is not bound to haptoglobin, it oxidizes and forms methemoglobin and leads to methemoglobinemia. Now let us see the causes and something about extravascular and intravascular hemolysis. So extravascular hemolysis occurs in the reticular endothelial system outside the vasculature, or reticular endothelial system comprising of spleen, liver, bone marrow. So RBC are phagocytized by macrophages of these organs: spleen, liver, bone marrow. The principal clinical features here are anemia, obviously, and then jaundice because of excessive unconjugated bilirubin, and then splenomegaly because all this extravascular hemolysis is occurring in the macrophages of spleen mostly, so there is splenomegaly, and as I said previously, decrease in plasma haptoglobin. Now in intravascular hemolysis, this is the hemolysis inside the vasculature, so RBC's contents are released into the circulation, so this occurs in the blood vessels. Now, what are the causes of intravascular hemolysis? These are mechanical injury, as in trauma by cardiac valves, or macroangiopathic hemolytic anemia, where there is the thrombotic constriction of these blood vessels, vasculature, as in HUS, or hemolytic uremic syndrome, DIC, disseminated intravascular coagulation, and TTP, thrombocytopenic purpura. And also because of second reason is complement fixation. So what happens, the antibodies are fixed to the RBC, so it causes complement fixation and therefore its hemolysis. And there are intracellular parasites like falciparum malaria, and then there are exogenous toxic factors leading to the rupture of the RBCs. Here the clinical features are anemia, which is common in both the extravascular and intravascular hemolysis. The signs and symptoms of anemia, for which you can see the previous video. Then there is jaundice, and there is hemoglobinemia, hemosidenuria, hemoglobinuria, methemoglobinemia. So for now the classification of hemolytic anemia, we had classified anemia in the previous video, so you can go and watch the previous video, anemia pathology, where we had classified hemolytic anemia into two categories based on intrinsic abnormalities and extrinsic abnormalities. So in the intrinsic abnormalities or intracorpuscular, which occurs inside the cell, we had divided into hereditary and acquired. Under hereditary, we had membrane abnormality as in hereditary spherocytosis, hemoglobin synthesis disorder as in thalassemia, sickle cell, and enzyme deficiency as in pyruvate deficiency or pyruvate kinase, and G6Pd deficiency. And in acquired, we had membrane defects as in paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, PNH. And under extrinsic abnormalities or extracorpuscular, that abnormalities are occurring outside the cell, we had antibody mediated, as in Rh disease of the newborn and autoantibodies, and mechanical trauma as in DIC, disseminated intravascular coagulation, and infection like as in malaria. Now let us see what are the clinical features of hemolytic anemia as a whole. So it will have, all the hemolytic anemias will have the common signs of and symptoms due to anemia. Also there will be jaundice because of an increased amount of unconjugated bilirubin. Then there will be splenomegaly, but in some cases only, as we have discussed, and mostly in extravascular hemolysis where there you can say splenomegaly. Then there is hepatomegaly, because also this is also in some cases where, because the liver has an increased load to convert so much amount of unconjugated bilirubin to conjugated bilirubin, so the workload increases on the liver, so there is hepatomegaly. Then there is skeletal abnormalities because of increased erythropoiesis. There is expansion of bone marrow, and there is abnormal and enlargement of bones. Also there is extramedullary hematopoiesis because the bone marrow is not sufficient in the body to produce the RBCs that are destructed to compensate. It is not enough, so it has to take the help of extramedullary hematopoiesis. Now there is dark urine because of the urobilinogen in the urine, which is on standing only the urine is dark in color, because on standing the urobilinogen in the urine is converted to urobilin, which makes the urine dark in color. Also remember, splenomegaly is only seen in extravascular hemolysis and not in intravascular hemolysis. Now finally we come to the laboratory features of hemolytic anemias. So as discussed, haptoglobin will be decreased because it binds with the free hemoglobin released by hemolysis of the RBCs. Then lactate dehydrogenase enzyme will increase in hemolysis because these are released from the lysis of the RBCs. In the peripheral blood smear, you will see abnormal RBCs according to the cause of anemia, like spherical in hereditary spherocytosis, elliptical, and other shapes according to the cause of anemia. Then reticulocyte count will increase as a response, compensatory response of marrow to the anemia. Now unconjugated bilirubin will also increase because there is increased breakdown of the hemoglobin because of increased hemolysis. So this degradation product of hemoglobin, unconjugated bilirubin, will be excessive. Now coming to urine analysis, we will find urobilinogen and find it positive for blood because the free hemoglobin and its metabolites will be found in the urine. So that's it for today's video. Please do subscribe to Made for Med if you like the video, and do give a thumbs up.